This is Remix Report with your hosts, DJ JD and DJ J Spring.
Today's video brought to you by YourDJSkins.com. Pimp your gear today.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's Remix Report, DJ JD here.
I'm DJ J Spring, and today we have a special guest joining us, Silver Medallion. What's going on?
What's going on, guys?
Yeah, Silver Medallion, of course, is a artist slash DJ slash producer, is that right?
Yeah, I stopped producing so much, but artist slash DJ, vocalist slash DJ, does the trick. Yeah.
Awesome. Not too many DJs that actually perform and do all that stuff all at the same time, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, it's been an interesting evolution. You know, I've been DJing for a very long time and came into the vocalist stuff a little bit later. But it's been a really interesting and fun combo, not gonna lie.
How did your DJ career start?
You know, I've been DJing since I was about 16. My mom worked at a thrift store, and she brought me turntables because she knew I really wanted them. I was watching like In Living Color and all that. And so I did the like being terrible on vinyl for a couple of years thing. And then I went to college and Serato came out, and I just started, you know, DJing in the bars, and I went to Arizona State, so Scottsdale and Tempe, and then everything kind of went from there. I was, you know, real into the underground hip hop and all that until the bars era, and then it obviously turns into what makes the girls dance, you know, and now we're here.
Awesome. So how does your DJ set go these days with your vocal performance going along with it? Like, how do you work all that stuff together?
Like a lot of the times it's actually separate, where people will either get me for a DJ gig or get me for a performance. But I have been doing a lot of like the do two songs. I'm not the guy who wants to come out in the performance, like ruin the whole mood of the night, like shut everything down and like give something. But if I'm, you know, my tracks are really club oriented, so I'll just be like right there in the set, you know, spotlight comes down, just do the vocals over it, don't stop the mix, don't stop anything, kind of like let people feel it. I feel that's good because I want to like make sure my set fits with the vibe of the night. But you know, I'm spinning house music, you know, and moombahton and dubstep, and my tracks fit right in there, so it's a pretty easy mix.
I'd say you're probably the only artist that actually understands that concept of not just totally screwing up the whole vibe of the night.
Coming from a DJ background shows you that, because everyone's like, oh, I want to come on and do a track, or oh, I'll play my single in the middle of the night, and I'm like, you know, as a DJ, like I know how that goes, like, but that's good because it forces me to make tracks that are applicable for a peak hour. Like I want to be played at peak hour, so I know what I got to make for that, you know.
So you definitely know then that sometimes it's tough playing stuff that the crowd doesn't know. How do you go about finding the right time if you have a new track that you want to sneak in?
Well, we've worked a long time at just seeing how it flows with the songs, you know, like every time we have a single, it's just looking at songs that are, you know, kind of, they're in the same key and that have the same vibe that we can easily make the transition into. And, you know, and sometimes it takes a while. You have to find kind of obscure stuff in your set that it works with. But I mean, also in this era, like with making edits and making bootlegs, it's been easy for us to be like, cool, we're going to use, you know, some of the drums from an intro that people might know or whatever, like, and, you know, segue more easily into it. And then even including like, it's easy in the Ableton world to be like, all right, cool. And then we're going to make it a seamless meld into Starships or, you know, or Calling or whatever is the next song. Like you can make it as easy a flow as possible.
So do you make different edits for your live show as opposed to the single that's actually released?
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, even lengthwise is different. A lot of the times in the club scenario, it's that quick hitter DJ life where you need the verse, chorus, next song, you know? So we definitely have different edits, and we kind of have all kinds of, and also it makes it more fun with the live show too, to be able to cut the vocal out for a couple seconds, you know, to build up more anticipation, etc. So we definitely have different edits.
So when you're actually starting from scratch and making your song, does that ever factor in? Do you ever think about how the DJ is going to play it as you're actually making the song, or do you worry about the edits just after that's all done?
You know, I definitely take it into an account when we're recording. My engineer is a DJ as well in New York, DJ Fresh Direct, and so both of us are in the clubs all the time, and so we definitely take that approach. But I think what we do is identify immediately, is this a club song or is this not a club song? If it's not a club song, anything goes, you know what I mean? And if it is, it's like, all right, like, does this fit in with the new stuff we're playing? Is it going to fit in with the stuff we're playing 3 months in advance when it's going to come out? Because that's been the big problem now, is especially with electronic music, it's changing. The drops are changing, the way the vocal performances are, and, you know, we're trying to innovate, but we're also trying to not, like, miss the curve completely in what the people whose records we're going to be playing are going to be doing. So a lot of thought goes into it.
I see that you've toured with Hyper Crush before, fellow mood swing artists. Have you learned anything from them at all? Because I know they do the artist thing as well.
Definitely. I learned a lot from their stage show because I'd done like a lot of shows before with LMFAO, and they were another people who had a really intense stage show. Like if you came on before them, like if you didn't come 100%, you were going to look whack. Well, Hyper Crush was a very similar thing because they've really engineered their completely own show. They bring all their own lights. They've got, you know, like a really well planned out set with a lot of things going on, a lot of interaction, and just going on before them. Like it was like, oh man, like I don't have these lights. I don't have the coordination. I don't have as many records that people know as them, and so I really had to bring it like 100%. But since touring with them, I've been investing really heavily in lights, just because noticing that they're bringing a truck of lights everywhere they go, and it just looks amazing. Was like, man, like it adds so much to the show, and I've been working hard to try and like do that for my own set moving forward.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that lately. How to add those effects to your DJ set. I assume were you talking about your DJ set or your performance
set?
Oh, performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm gonna, you know, obviously when I have the lights, I'm bringing them to everything. Like unless the club's got the super system, like it can always be better. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta make it into a show instead of just some random club performance.
And especially with a lot of these tours, you know, like I'm on a lot of the college blogs, and I do a lot of fraternity shows and college shows, and those bars and their frat houses, etc., usually have nothing. So whatever you bring in really determines like how the show goes. And so I want to have the most memorable experience possible. I want people to be like, yo, that was the best party this year, you know. And the more stuff I can bring and the more ideas we have, the better it's going to go.
Yeah, we actually did. We just saw LMFAO. Probably, was it a month ago?
Yep.
Maybe. And they definitely do put on a show. Is there anybody else that inspires you performance-wise?
You know, I really liked, I was at Ultra this year and I saw Alvin Risk, and I really liked the way his DJ set and kind of his use of lights I thought was really, really dope. You know, and other than that, I've been looking at like kind of a lot of rock bands and people like that have really kind of stood out to me. As far as electronic music, I'm trying to think. You know, people come and they play really high energy sets, but I'm trying to think of people that really step outside the box. I've been watching a lot of A-Rap music videos because I want to get, when I'm performing, I want to get my DJ, even though he's never going to be A-Rap music, but like getting some live FPC on there I think would be really ill. Especially with like the build-ups, like the way we are in house music. Like if we could be doing some of that live, I think that would really raise the energy.
Well, you are on the same label as Inferno, who he does
legendary.
Some crazy stuff.
Yeah, when they sent me that first video of him remaking a house track, it was crazy. And then we have the same Casio keyboard in the Mood Swing studio that he used for some of that. So they have all the plug-in, like he has all the sounds he created for it. So we'll go in there and it'll be like, you know, like level synth 3, and it's just like exactly the sound. It's funny.
Yeah, he does some really sick stuff. So how did you get hooked up on some of those tours? As far as you were touring with Shwayze at one time, is that right?
Yeah, I've done a lot of shows with a lot of people. Like when I started off in Arizona, you know, we had like a good buzz and we were in all the clubs. So we were like a natural opener for all these kind of people, like the Shwayzes and the LMFAO before electronic music hit. And so, I mean, it was an easy progression there. And then we had a good enough show and a good enough buzz that, like, we started getting some bigger acts. And I started, did like Avicii, Benny Benassi, Rusko, Girl Talk, like all these folks. And this is all like local Arizona. And then when we started doing our own tour, we did like a fraternity tour. We planned out like mostly ourselves with a little bit of help. And people just started noticing like, oh, these guys have a draw in different places. And a lot of it has to do with that. It's like, hey, can they help sell some tickets? Is their show going to fit in with other shows like ours? And then once I got with Mood Swing, like they've been amazing at, you know, like helping me do shows with Dev. And they put me on this tour with Hyper Crush and, you know, just partnering me with acts with similar music that like I can learn from and like support well.
Awesome. So your new single is called Stay Young.
Yes.
You're doing the release party for that at the Box in New York City on Thursday, August 9th. So anybody in the New York area, definitely go out and check that out. That's going to be
please come out. Shots on me. We'll get it popping.
Awesome. That's with Benzie and D-Star on that night as well.
Yeah, and we've never all actually DJed together. Like I've DJed with Benzie with D-Star, but not all three of us never done a night. So it's gonna be.
So this is gonna be a
crazy
DJ performance.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be performing as well, a couple songs, but I think we're all DJing.
Okay, cool.
So tell us what kind of went into the song "Stay Young" and I guess what it's all about.
I think "Stay Young" is a really good example of kind of like how like electronic music is made in 2012 because you know, I had like a draft from D-Star who produced it. You know, he'll send you over a bunch of skeletons of tracks, you know, like basic melody, drums, you know, and I wrote the vocal. I originally sent him the song. I recorded it in my home studio, and he didn't like it. and because it was kind of a shady recording, so I went back, actually did it in the big studio because I was like, I know this is a banger. And he was in New York, and I brought him to the studio and we played it. I was like, all right, no, this is great. And then he took it and then kind of remade it into, I beefed up the melodies, beefed up the drop. We finished the song, and then kind of looked at it like, all right, what does it need to go from here? And basically like remixed it before we put it out. Like, all right, like this has a certain sound, but like let's approach it like we would to remake it into a real banger. And so, basically a remix happened before it was even released. But it was good because the concept of the song was really hitting me then, because, you're at that position in life as an artist when you're like, all right, like I might be able to make it off this, and things are going well, but like, are you going to kind of give yourself wholesale and be like, I'm going to be 35, like being a DJ, being a performer, or like, are you kind of going to, are you afraid of that? And the whole stay young concept of like, just trying to live it as much as you can was like a point I was thinking about a lot of my life right then.
That's awesome. The first thing I heard, which is awesome, is that you did the song and you were told that he didn't like it, who you sent it to, which is, it's always good to have someone who will give you an honest opinion.
Oh, 100%. We're good like that. We're all pretty mean in the creative process, because if you don't have hit records or records that DJs can play, then like, what's the point? Like be critical. But I knew this one was like, I was like, nah, like this is the right one. I had to give a better representation of the track, like the little 2-track, like me and Ableton in my crib wasn't going to cut it,
It's definitely a unique song, and I mean your voice I think is the most unique thing about all your tracks that we were listening to getting ready to do this interview. Can you talk a little bit about your voice, I guess, and how, I mean, it's a much lower in the register than most vocal performances, which I think is pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I'm more of a rock vocalist, and I grew up in Hawaii, and I played in like rock and reggae bands and stuff, and like I was into hip hop for the DJing, but like when I was in bands, it was always more oriented towards that, and so like, I mean, I love electronic music, and I love pop music, and when I was just going to singing, like I'm not going to try and be somebody else, and I was like, I'm not going to try and leave the register or anything, and having that kind of rock influence and being, when I'm doing my vocal practice, the songs that I'm working on are songs like Third Eye Blind and like, just Nirvana and things that like influence me that like are working my register. And so the songs that I do in vocal practice have a big translation into the performances I give, and I think Stay Young's a good example of that record. Like vocally is me having some like 90s rock influences in my actual vocal performance.
But then all the way on the other side of things, you've also covered Starships by Nicki Minaj too. Which, I mean, your voice definitely makes that sound totally different than when Nicki's doing.
It does, but it still has that. It still has that like that kind of feel to it, Like I was doing some covers, we were kind of like, I hadn't really put much into the YouTube. I've worked hard on touring and all this stuff. We hadn't done as much video stuff, and they're like, let's try out some covers, see if people like them. I like taking those songs and turning them more into my own, like even like Wild Ones and stuff. I still think they have like kind of that like male vocalist, like 90s rock feel good sounds, and I'm completely comfortable with that sound, and I want to keep going with it.
Have those done pretty well for you, those the covers?
Yeah, well, cool. I mean, they help beef up my YouTube subscribers and give me some new fans. I guess that's the goal of any time you put out some music. It's funny doing covers because you get 50% people that are like, I love that, 30% people that are like, you suck just because you're not Nicki Minaj, And I'm like, I understand that. Like, so it's cool. It was cool to be able to get some criticism, which like inspired me to be like, I'm gonna only do better.
Definitely. Well, that new song you have, that Stay Young song, that's at the beginning of your new mix you just released a few days ago called Slaves to the Night, Volume 3. Is this an ongoing mix series that you do?
Yeah, I did. I did one at Sundance last year, and I did another one when I first moved to New York. And it's just like it's a house mix series. In New York, you have to be an open format DJ, so you move between the hip hop and EDM and pop. But in the Slaves to the Night series is focused on house and harder EDM. And but the last one did really well. We got like 260,000 plays. And it was Fresh New Tracks that sponsored it, and it went really far. And so I have some kind of high hopes for this one, as like the mix is kind of taking me into the fall when I'm gonna be touring the colleges and touring back around to the people who've seen me before.
Awesome. Well, I definitely got to say your track fits in very well with everything else on that mix. I mean, the sound of it has that nice hard breakdown and drop when it comes in.
I appreciate that. I'm just trying to make music that's good enough for the DJs to be able to play right next to what they're playing already.
Awesome. So what's coming in the future?
Well, I've got a tour with DJ Benzie that we're doing in the fall. We're hitting all over the U.S. And then I've got we've been sitting in the studio all summer because we know when college comes back, we're right back on the road. So I've just been loading tracks upon tracks upon tracks. And so right now we're just brainstorming, trying to figure out like what the follow-up Stay Young is going to be. We're not really sure yet. But again, it's that process. We're like, okay, this is the one. Maybe like we're going to go back in and remix it and like take it to the biggest level. And we're trying to decide that right now. But the video for Stay Young is also coming out in the next couple weeks. We got that finished up. We're just kind of trying to pick the right time, and we've been getting a lot of radio, and we're starting on BPM and a couple other things coming up soon. So we're just very excited to watch Stay Young grow and hopefully grow to an enormous level. So fingers crossed.
Awesome, man.
What do you prefer, the college crowd or the nightclub, the high-end nightclub crowd?
I prefer to DJ in the high-end nightclub crowd. I prefer to perform in the college crowd because the college kids are just gonna get buck wild with you. And if you tell them to like scream, they're gonna scream as loud as they can. And then but they're not gonna appreciate like my intricate blend or whatever. You know what I mean? Like whereas in the high-end nightclub, people are like, oh, someone's performing, like great. You know what I mean? Like let me sip my Grey Goose, like right. And so I'd rather just be in the DJ mode.
Awesome, cool, makes sense. Well, definitely best of luck to you in the future of Stay Young and the future of your career, and hopefully once you're huge and enormous, we can have you back on here and talk about how that all came together.
Anytime. I promise I'll do it. You can take my word for it. But thank you so much for letting me get some exposure for the song, and appreciate you guys taking the time.
Remixreport.com